This is the Sergio Rodriguez Show.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sergio Rodriguez Show, a show unlike any other. Today, week 10 of the NFL, a week that really left a lot to be desired from a football standpoint. Realistically, the only game that had any bite in terms of the game that meant more was actually the Thursday night game with the Colts traveling to the Titans and actually getting what amounted to the best win of the weekend. We're going to obviously speak about all the games. We're going to speak a little NBA. The draft is tomorrow, and so we're just going to discuss a couple of things to look out for, who we feel the Knicks might draft and who might go number one overall. We're also obviously going to touch on the games for week 11. We went 3-2 in the Sergio Rodriguez picks. Again, 10 consecutive weeks where we do not have a losing record. Right now, we're just making people money. But speaking of money, let's make our own some money here. Or let's make the show some money here. Triangle Ink. Triangle Ink is the leading manufacturer in the screen printing industry, delivering the finest inks for over 35 years. Check them out at triangleink.com or call them at 1-800-524-1592. Vergona Cranes, located at 180 West Forest Avenue in Englewood, New Jersey, Vergona Cranes operates 24 hours a day, providing crane rentals, trucking services, and warehousing for storage. Vergona Crane services the New York and New Jersey area. Call them at 201-945-7209 or on their website at vergonacrane.com. Paramus Driving School. Safety and professionalism begins with Paramus Driving School, serving the North Jersey area like no other. Contact them at paramusdrivingschool.com or call them at 201-986-8300 and tell them that the Sergio Rodriguez Show sent you. We traveled to Arizona, where the Cardinals pulled out an unbelievable game over the Buffalo Bills, 32-30. A game that neither quarterback played great, but both played well enough to win it. Allen finished 32 for 49 with 2 touchdowns, did throw 2 interceptions. Murray was 22 for 32, 245, 1 touch, 1 interceptions. He did have 2 rushing touchdowns. He had 61 yards rushing. Let's go to 4 minutes left in the game. Josh Allen throws the second one of his interceptions, and Arizona's got the ball. 4 minutes to go. 2 first downs essentially ends the game. They were up 26. You see, that game finished 32-30. It was 6, so 26. Yeah, it was 26-23. And like I said, they could have just ran the clock out, but they had a terrible possession. And that possession is going to get lost in all this because they won the game. But at 26-23, you got a incomplete pass, sack. Terrible possession. Josh Allen drives the Bills down, throws just one of the prettiest balls you will see in 45 years that I've seen of watching football. Just a phenomenal throw to Diggs, who, by the way, finished with 10 catches and 93 yards for the touchdown, gives the Bills a 30-26 lead. That should have won it. There were about 30 seconds left in the game. They get the ball back, Arizona does, get to midfield. We've all seen it already. Hail Mary from Murray. Hopkins goes up. Hopkins, who finished with 7 catches, $127, and a touchdown, none bigger than that last one, goes up, makes the play, comes down between 3 guys. I know Poyer was there, could have knocked it down. He just basically out-athletic them. Went up, got it, game over, 32-30. Cardinals put themselves in a 3-way tie for first. The Cardinals rushed for 217 yards this game. And that's what surprised me. They had 100 yards from Drake during the game. They have 2 decent backs. They had outrushed the Bills 217-73 for the game, and 38 of those 73 came from Josh Allen, and they chose to go passing there with 4 minutes to go instead of trying to figure out a way to run the clock out. I just thought that was just terrible play calling in that situation. Like I said, nobody's going to pay attention to that now because they ended up winning the game, but that was terrible. Beasley for Buffalo, 11 for $109 and a touchdown, having quietly a very, very good season. For you fantasy people, Beasley's been a guy, I know in my league, Beasley's has not been even picked up by anyone. And every week he puts up 10 points. Nobody takes him. He's got to be one of the top 20 or 25 fantasy receivers just on his consistency alone. Buffalo, 7-3. They have a bye. The Chargers at the 49ers and Pitt. Win 2 of those 3, you'll be sitting pretty and getting ready for the playoffs as the winners in the AFC East. Lose one of those, you might have to really roll up your sleeves the last couple of weeks. Arizona, 6-3 in a 3-way tie for first now, is at Seattle on Thursday. Yes, they're at Seattle on Thursday, at the Pats, the Rams, and then at the Giants. They themselves can get 3 of these wins, but I would probably say, looking at them the way they've been all year, probably go 2-2. Speaking of the Rams, they went, they played Seattle at home and got a 23-16 win. The only team that plays defense in that league is the Rams. The only team that has a decent defense in that division is the Rams, and they showed it. A couple of points about that game. Number one, the Rams offense only got 23 points. But when you play defense like they do, you're going to be fine with those 23. Remember, early in the year, I told you that the Rams are the type of offense that needs to trick you to score. And early in games, if they get you with the plays that they script, they're going to be fine. Seattle, and why is that important? Because Seattle gives up 35 to everybody, and the Rams were only able to get 23. That's number one. Second point, Seattle only got 16 points. That speaks to how good that Rams defense is, and realistically, how the pressure of having to score 30 games is beginning to wear down on Russell Wilson and Seattle. Speaking of Russell Wilson, point number 3, he had 3 more turnovers, 2 interceptions, 0 touchdown passes. You can't go into every game looking to score 35 points. And that's what Seattle right now needs to do just to have a shot to win. They only had 113 yards rushing, and 60 of them came from Russell Wilson. A lot of issues for Seattle right now. Even though the record is 6-3, if you really watch them week to week, you realize that they're not going to be able to be one of the better teams in the NFC because they just have too many things that they have to fix from week to week. The Rams had 106 rushing, which isn't great, but they had 3 rushing touchdowns. And Goff, look, he was 27 for 37 for 302, no turnovers, no touchdowns. But when you're getting 300 yards from the passing game, which is the norm in today's football, you're going to have a big leg up. Just if you have the ball, the other team can't score. Like I said, 3 teams are now 6-3 in a 3-way tie, and they play each other a lot, particularly coming down the stretch for the Rams. The Rams are at Tampa Bay, That should be a loss. Although I don't know, the Bucks, I got to look at the line. We'll speak about that game when we look at the line, because the line's going to tell me a lot about that game, because the Bucks, the Bucks had their win this weekend, but they really did not do much offensively for the first half of that game. They blew that game late open. The 49ers at Arizona, the Pats, Jets at Seattle, and Cardinals. The Rams are going to get to 10 wins. They're going to get to 10 wins. Seattle's got the Cardinals at Philly. They have the Cardinals at Philly, the Jets, Washington. They also have the Rams. They finish up at the 49ers. They're going to get to 10 wins, but they're going to be pushing to get to 10 wins, especially if they stub their toe either at Washington or at Philadelphia, which could happen because those teams are going to be able to score on them. The other team in that division is the 49ers, and they got beat 27-13 by the Saints. Couple interesting things in this game. Number one, the 49ers jump out to a 10-0 lead. Then they give up 27 straight points. Breeze got hurt, broken ribs, probably going to be out now for about a month. Winston came into the game, and the Saints basically dummied down the offense. They said, okay, we're not going to allow you to ruin this game for us, because they knew the 49ers just were not going to score. The only way the 49ers were going to score is if you gave them a short field. So they basically dummied down the offense. I mean, the Saints really only had 123 yards passing, and Breeze had about 2/3 of those before he got hurt. And 83 of those yards went to Kamara out of the backfield. So, New Orleans played this basically close to the vest. They were just not going to let the game get crazy. The Saints are 7-2. They have the Falcons at Denver and at Atlanta. They have to figure out a way to go 3-0 in these games. 2-1 won't be terrible, but with Breeze out over the next 3 or 4 games, if you could just get Jameis to not give these games away, you'll be fine. The 49ers, looking at their schedule, just not many wins left in it. The Steelers, 36-10 over the Bengals. Weather was a factor. It was windy. It was crazy. And I was shocked how often both quarterbacks threw the ball. I mean, Big Ben threw the ball 46 times. I know Burrow threw the ball damn near 40 times. And I know that's their offense, but the weather really dictated that they, run the ball a little bit more. I know they were playing without Mixon, but still, it was the first time that I saw Joe Burrow really look like a rookie since early. I believe it was probably the other Steelers game. He looked a little lost. And look, the game started off nicely for them. They got a 3-and-out. I don't know if it was a 3-and-out, but that first possession for the Steelers, they got to stop. They got the punt, and they fumbled the punt. Gave the Steelers a short field. See, as the Steelers scored, and it was over after that. Pitt only ran for 44 yards, and I keep on telling you guys every week, that's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. It's getting colder. It's going to be a problem. They got a big game from Deontay Johnson, 6 for $116 and a touchdown. Schuster had a touchdown. Claypool had 2. The Bengals had 139 yards rushing, and they got a big game from Higgins. Higgins was 7 for $115 and a touchdown, but the 2 turnovers, particularly, like I said, the drop punt just set up the first 3 points, and it was over after that. Pittsburgh is at Jacksonville before they play the Ravens on Thanksgiving. Make sure that's not a trap game, and you should be 10-0 going into that Thanksgiving Day matchup. The Pats on Sunday night, 23-17 over the Ravens, and the Pats beat the Ravens at their own game. They ran the hell out of the ball. They ran for $173, and Cam didn't turn the ball over. If you can do that, you're going to be fine because Belichick's going to scheme you up defensively. And let's be honest, the Ravens aren't hard to scheme up schematically defensively. I mean, they are basically keep them in front of you and tackle. Make them go 10, 12 plays. They're not going to be able to throw the ball, so you'll get it back. The Ravens had 115 yards rushing, 55 from Lamar. But they had 3 bad snaps, one of them which set up a short field, and they just made too many mistakes all night. All night. The Ravens are 6-3, and they're the story of this game because they put themselves in a situation now where the division is probably over, even if they win on Thanksgiving night versus the Steelers. Think about this. They're home to Tennessee, a game they could lose. I think they might end up winning that game because coming off a loss, they'll probably get a little healthier. And Tennessee, they've been so sporadic all year. I just don't know. Although Tennessee is coming off the 10-day layoff since they played on Thursday. I'm interested to see that line also. It'll give me a little idea what Vegas is thinking. They have Pitt after Dallas at Cleveland, Jags, Giants, and at Cincinnati. But I just don't. They could win every one of those games. I'm not as high in them, so I figure they're going to get picked off at least definitely once, maybe twice. But I don't know that you're going to need 13 wins. 14 wins or 13 wins, and I just can't see them winning out to be the 1 seed. The Dolphins 29-21 over the Chargers, and let's take this from this perspective. From a stats point of view, this game was terrible. Probably the one game I watched the most snaps from as I was watching all the games yesterday. The Dolphins, as long as Tua is their quarterback, might be the most boring team to watch moving forward. They're going to dummy down the offense. They're going to let him game manage, which he's doing well at this point. I mean, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 0 turnovers, which is the most important stat in terms of time. He had 1 turnover actually. 0 interceptions. He had 1 turnover game 1. He had a fumble. But the Dolphins are playing these games with special teams and defense. One of the top 3 or 5 coaching staffs in the league. At this point, they're no dummies. They're giving him simple throws, 1-read throws. If you really watch the game and you really dissect it, Tua only threw for 169 yards. He only had 15 completions. And realistically, he completed 6 passes to his wide receivers. They used 3 tight ends, running backs, and he targeted his receivers 15 times. It might have been 14 or 15 times. But the point is, in passes that he targeted his receivers, he's under 50%. So you're not going to see many prolific numbers on the outside. The question is, what happens when they have to play football? And by that, I mean, what's going to happen when you have to go down and score and you're not getting the type of help that the defense and the special teams are giving you right now? That's where game managers get you. Right now, he landed soft. He had a Rams team off a bye, and the Rams are a great defense, and they proved it. He only threw for like 90 yards against them. They gave that game away on offense, the Rams did. The last 2 games, Arizona, terrible defensive team. The Chargers are a 2-win team. And honestly, the Dolphins should have this formula work for them for the next couple of games. Herbert threw an interception that set up a short field. He needs to start checking the ball down a little more. He's not turning the ball over at a high volume. But on that particular play, there was a check down that would have at least allowed you to punt the ball in a one-possession game. You try to force it to the outside, and like I said, the Dolphins right now are just making plays. They blocked the punt and set up the offense inside the 20 to start the game, which gave them the first lead. The Dolphins are playing good football now. Their problem is going to be when they have to play football back and forth, when they find teams that can score regardless of the way the defense plays against them, and when the offense has to go 10, 12 plays and actually have to get the yardage in chunks. How are they going to move the ball? I just don't see it happening. But listen, at this point, if you can just continue to win games like this, you take it. The interesting thing is that for years, going back to the 80s, all I've heard from Dolphins fans is that winning didn't matter, that winning didn't define Dan Marino because he was just so great. Now all I hear is that stats don't matter and numbers don't matter because now it's okay to just win the games because Tua's throwing for 169 yards every game. Miami 6-3. They're at Denver. That's going to be a tough game. That's going to be a really good defense he's going to face. And let me tell you something. I know Drew Lock is hurt. I'm not sure if he's going to play. I'm very interested to see how much Las Vegas is respecting the Dolphins. That game, a team that's 6-3, playing a team like Denver, who's struggling and just turned the ball over a million times against the Raiders, that line should be 5 or 6. If that line is anything lower than that, they're begging you to bet the Dolphins. They travel to the Jets afterwards, Cincinnati, before they really have to play the 4 best teams that are left on their schedule, which are Kansas City, the Patriots, the Raiders, and the Bills. The Colts, 34-17 over the Titans. Best win of the week, and like I said earlier, Rivers, 29 for 39, 1 touchdown. They ran for $133, helped them stop the Titans' ball control because they had the ball. Henry did go for 103 on 19 carries, but playing from behind kept them from really dominating the game and just feeding the pig. They actually kept him on the bench really for a lot of the fourth quarter. Tannehill, his usual game manager numbers, 15 for 27, 1 touchdown, no turnovers, but the Titans are having kicking issues. That's an issue, okay? They were up 17-10 and gave up 24 straight points. 14 of those points came in 1 minute. After a Hines touchdown run, they came out, they went 3 and out. The Colts block a punt, ball game over. Tennessee 6-3, they're at the Ravens and at the Colts. Tennessee could be in trouble here. They have to figure out a way to get a split here because if they go 6-5, they might not make the playoffs. The Colts are 6-3. They have Green Bay and Tennessee, 2 tough games, but both at home. They should be able to get a split. I'm interested to see that Colts Green Bay line. Cleveland 10-7 over Houston. For any of you guys who have little kids who have trouble sleeping, put this game on for them. Won't be a problem. They'll be in bed and sleeping and snoring in about 6.5 minutes. This game was 3-0 going into the fourth quarter until Nick Chubb scored. Chubb, who was out for a while, came back with a resounding game. 19 for $126 and a touchdown. Could have had 2. Ran out of bounds smartly. And basically they were able to just kneel it out and run the clock out. Second straight week that Cleveland has to deal with high winds, which kind of keep games, low scoring. Deshaun Watson, 163 for a touchdown. And again, the $39 million quarterback can't get you a point until 5 minutes to go in the game. Houston had 90 yards rushing, and 36 of those came from Watson. They can't run the ball. They can't pass the ball. And you decide to pay a guy $39 million. Cleveland had 231 yards rushing. And like I said, in that type of weather, running the ball is the key. Cleveland 6-3. They have the Eagles, who are going to be desperate. At the Jaguars, who just played Green Bay tough. At the Titans, and then the Ravens. The Monday night game was Minnesota over the Bears 19-13. Let's start here. 385 to 149 in total yardage. The Bears offense would struggle against a great college team right now. You know, they had 24 total minutes of time of possession because the entire second half was 3 and out. Ironically, that Bears team is so good defensively that they were down 7-6 at the half against a Minnesota team who had been hanging points against everybody and running the hell out of the ball against anybody or everybody. The Bears take the second half kickoff. Cordero Patterson returns it. They go up 13-7, change the momentum of the game. Minnesota comes out. They stop them. Now they're getting the ball back up 13-7. They fumbled the ball. Fumble the ball. Give Minnesota the short field. Minnesota kicks a field goal and, essentially lost the entire momentum of the game because the Bears, then they came out 3 and out and Minnesota came back down, got another field goal. The Bears they just have to play these perfect games. And look, Matt Nagy, he should be fired for taking Mitch Trubisky out. And not because Mitch Trubisky is this great, unbelievable quarterback, but the fact is they were 3-0 with Mitch Trubisky. You're 2-5 with Nick Foles as the starter. If you're going to go 2-5 either way, why not go 2-5 with the young quarterback? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Green Bay is coming up for the Bears. Then they're home to Detroit, home to the Texans, and then at Minnesota. Can they win 2 of these games? I don't know. Foles got hurt at the end of the game, and Trubisky didn't even suit up last week. But so we're going to see. Minnesota's 4-5. I said this 3 weeks ago when they got to 2-5. I told you guys Minnesota would get to 7-5. Dallas, Carolina, Jaguars at Tampa. Carolina game will be tough. The Dallas game, they should be okay in, even though Dallas is coming off the 10-day layoff. But if they just do what they have to do, they're going to go into that Tampa game at 7-5. Detroit beat Washington 30-27 in what ended up being a pretty entertaining game in the second half. Let me take you to 24-10. So Detroit's up 24-10 going into the fourth and almost blew the game. They needed 2 Prater field goals, one to give them a 27-24 lead, and then one to give them a 30-27 win. With about 2:37, Prater kicks the field goal to give them a 3-point lead. Washington comes down and kicks a field goal with 16 seconds. Here's where the game gets interesting. Washington kicks the ball out of the end zone for a touchback. 16 seconds left. Stafford's got the ball at the 25. First play completes a 10-yard pass to the 35, 12 seconds left. On the ensuing play, an incomplete pass, but Washington gets a roughing the passer, which moves the ball now to midfield. They probably have one play left and then a Hail Mary. They throw the ball, complete a 9-yard pass to the Washington 41, which sets up a 59-yard field goal, which Matt Prater, he's been doing this a long, long, long time, and he's been doing it well. Bangs it home, 30-27, ball game over. Alex Smith, 38 for 55, too many throws, but he threw for 390. Stafford, 276, 3 touchdowns. Washington controlled the game with the time of possession, 36-24, and still lost the game. Detroit, at Carolina, the Texans, and at the Bears. The Giants, 27-17 over the Eagles. 2 straight games now. Danny Penny has not turned the ball over, and the Giants, Bro, they have their fans pumped now at 3-7. Of course, they won't tell you that the 3 wins are 2 against the Redskins and 1 against the lowly Eagles. But they're pumped now at 3-7. That just shows you how much the Giant fans have suffered over the last 10 years, where 3-7 gets them pumped. You know, my point is, as a Cowboy fan, they're 2-7. If the Cowboys win this weekend miraculously and get to 3-7, they'll probably be they'll be tied for first place. You know what I'll be thinking? We still stink. Still stink. Giant fans. I had a Giant fan tell me, hey, you know, we weren't good when we won the Super Bowl in 2010. We made a miraculous run. Giant fans. The Giants did run the ball well. They ran the ball for 151, and they're really using Jones in the run game, which is actually helping take a lot of the pressure off the pass rush, because now you got to stay honest to him running the ball, him giving the ball on some of those RPOs. So that's actually good. And like I said, he didn't turn the ball over. He was 21 for 28, 244. Wentz continues to be terrible the entire year. High throws all game, 21 for 37, but just high throws, missing receivers. Philly ran for $156, but played from behind all game. Down 14-3, down 21-11. Just and here's another thing. Philly scores a touchdown just to show you where these guys, they have jobs, and I know this coach won a Super Bowl, but let me ask a question here. Philly's down 14-3. Scores a touchdown. Instead of making the game 14-10, they decide to chase points early in the third quarter. Why? Reasons known only to them. They go for 2, they get it. I assume the reason they would give you is, well, we want to put ourselves 3 points away. In a game where we're struggling on offense, let's see if a field goal, we might only be able to tie, so we could tie this game with a field goal, because we might only get a chance to score through by foot and not by ground. Okay. That's the explanation you're going to give me. I'm not a big fan of chasing points early in games, but if that's the explanation you're going to give me, okay. Giants come down, they score a touchdown. They go up 21-11. The Eagles come down and score a touchdown to make it 21-17. You figure they're going to kick the extra point, right? Because what they were trying to do was get to 3. They go for 2. They don't get it. Now they're down 4. Now you're right back in the same position you were in when you scored the last touchdown. The Giants are at Cincinnati, at Seattle, Arizona, Cleveland, at Baltimore. They can get 2 of those games. I'll tell you, the hardest thing is going to be getting a win this weekend at Cincinnati. That's going to be a hard game for them. Philadelphia's at Cleveland, Seattle at Green Bay, and the Saints. They catch a break. Maybe they can play the Saints that week. If Breeze is out that 4th week, they'll get them. But the problem is there is a bye in there. So I'm not sure if Breeze is going to be back or not by that point. And they're going to have to get a couple of games. Ironically, that tie with the Bengals might save the Eagles and help them win the division. Green Bay 24-20 over the Jaguars. Green Bay got a touchdown pass from Rodgers to Adams with about 9 minutes to go in the 4th, and it ended up being the difference, 24-20. Rodgers 24 for 34, 325, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Valdes-Scantling came back and really played a good game from the way he played, the way he was playing earlier. 4 for 149, had a nice play there on a long catch for a touchdown. Jaguars didn't do much on offense. They only had 260 yards of total offense, but they ran the ball okay. They had a $109. Robinson's been playing really well. But Green Bay survived, and that's really what matters right now to them. Green Bay 7-2. They travel to the Colts. Like we said earlier, I'm very interested to see that line. They're home to the Bears, Philly at Detroit, Carolina, Titans, and the Bears. They're going to win 13 games. It's just no way they just won't. But I'll tell you what, they have shown a lot of wrinkles over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Tampa 46-23 over Carolina. Brady to Evans right at as the half ended was a huge play in this game. You know, Tampa wasn't doing much. In fact, they were down 17-10. That touchdown tied it right before the half. And then the second half, Tampa blew it open. Jones had a 98-yard touchdown run, and Carolina really couldn't move the ball. Brady finished with 341. 3 touchdowns. Jones finished with a $192 running. Like I said, 92 of those 98 came on one carry. He had 4 receivers finish with over 50 yards, sharing the ball. That's going to be the problem for you fantasy guys. I told you guys earlier in the year not to have a receiver from that team. And then definitely after they signed Antonio Brown, you're going to get everybody with 40 or 50 yards, and you'll be lucky to be the receiver that catches the touchdowns, and that probably will be Evans just because of his physicality inside the 20. Carolina was outgained 544 to 187 and only threw for 122 yards. Without McCaffrey, they ran for 65 yards this game. Tampa Bay's home to the Rams, Kansas City, Minnesota. This is a tough stretch for Tampa. Then they're at the Falcons, at Detroit, and then the Falcons again to finish up. Lucimer Auto Body, located at 27 Austin Street in Newark, provides top-of-the-line service to make your collision experience as smooth as possible. Go to lucimer.com or call them at 973-824-0113. JJ Farber and Lotman, providers of wholesale insurance at competitive rates for small and medium businesses. Go to jjfl.com or get an instant quote by calling 844-502-8923. M&J Luxury Inc. For the most unique experience in the medical transportation business, call M&J, located in New York City with over 1,000 cars at your disposal. Call them at 718-278-2222 or 914-484-7264. The NBA draft will be tomorrow, and everybody locally is wondering what the Knicks are going to do. Who's going to come in here and be part of this rebuilding? Minnesota's got the number 1 pick. The rumors are that LaMelo Ball is who they're going with. Look, I got a chance to watch the kid. We haven't seen Ball play a lot because obviously he did not play college basketball last year. The kid Edwards from Georgia is the kid that I like. And I would draft number 1 if I was drafting. But you know, when you talk about these guys like Ball, you know they have pedigree, and he's been playing against men. So it's not like he's going to come in here and be, not prepared to compete. Normally 10, 15 years ago, the physicality of the game caught a lot of these rookies, but the game's not played the same way anymore. So is LaMelo Ball a top 5 pick? 100%. Is he a top 3 pick? I would probably say so. I would still go with Edwards, but if they go with Ball, it is what it is. We know Golden State's going to take the Wiseman kid, the center from Memphis. He is going to be a big difference maker for them because he'll give them a shot blocker. He'll give them that size inside. And Wiseman, was predicted to be the number 1 pick last year at this point when he was coming out of high school for this year's draft. So, that's going to hold serve. I know the interesting thing about this draft that I'm interested in seeing is how high does Obi Toppin go, the kid from Dayton. You guys all remember he had a monster year last year, and he would have probably became a household name if the NCAA tournament got off. That's very interesting. How high does the kid from Israel go, the kid Avdija? Who takes him and how high does he go? He should be in the lottery, in the top 10, I should say. Does he go 4, 5, 6? That's important. I'll tell you why that's important. I think Atlanta likes him. If he goes before that, Atlanta might then turn around and take the kid Halliburton from Iowa State. Why is that important? Well, I was told Halliburton is the kid that the Knicks really want. Point guard from Iowa State. That's who they really want. They need him to be there on the board when they draft at 8. Atlanta becomes the only threat to him, in my opinion. If the Knicks don't get him, do they then say, okay, we want Cole Anthony, Greg Anthony's kid? Cole Anthony was a kid that was really projected to be a top 3 pick at this time last year and has now slipped all the way to the bottom. The Knicks have 2 picks in this draft. They draft at 28 also. Do they have something where if, let's say they don't get Halliburton, do they draft the kid? I know somebody else that they like is the kid from Florida State, Devin Vassell, I believe his name is. Do they draft him, and then do they have something they can package to move up into the mid to high teens to take Cole Anthony and get the best of both worlds? That's something that is obviously, I'm sure, being entertained, but I don't know if they can really entertain that until they don't realize what happens with Halliburton. Like I said, the kid from Iowa State. The Nets don't draft till the 20th spot. Really not much interesting there. Boston's got a couple of picks. I think they picked 15 and 27. And I really don't know anything else that really jumps out at me. The other point guard in the draft, I guess, is the kid Hayes, the kid from France. But please, I don't want the Knicks to draft any more people from France. I'm not going through that again. Fairfield Physical Therapy, located in the Fairfield Commons Suite G106, is owned and operated by Justin Solotov, who has 20 years of experience in the field of orthopedic physical therapy. Call Justin at 973-276-1313 and stop living with pain and discomfort. Epic Car Service, recognized as the #1 car service in New York City by medical transportation standards, located in the Bronx, New York, Epic Car Service will make your commute a safe and comfortable experience. Call Epic at 718-401-3742 or 844-666-6278 and tell Xavier Pena that Sergio Rodriguez sent you. Sponsoring the gambling portion of the Sergio Rodriguez show for Week 11 game. Week 11 games. Wow, it's Week 11 already. It's incredible. Is Stan Sports. Stan Sports Center is one of the oldest and most recognized sporting goods stores in New Jersey. Located on Washington Street in Hoboken and in Saddlebrook, Stan's has been recognized as a historical institution. Call Stan's at 201-773-6891 or on their website at stansportsctr.com. Week 11, and we start in Seattle. Seattle is a 3-point favorite over Arizona. That total is 57.5. That game's probably going to go over, and I'm going to tell you why. because they're expecting Seattle to just have a 30-plus point outburst here. And neither of these defenses are any good, so you can expect it. Cleveland's a 3.5-point favorite at Philly, or at home versus Philly. Can Philly really lay an egg 2 weeks in a row offensively? I think they probably can, just because they've been doing it the whole year. But that line opened up at 2 and is at 3.5 now. A lot of the early money going Cleveland's way. New Orleans is a 5-point favorite over Atlanta. That line dropped 2.5 points after Breeze was announced to be out. Carolina is a 1.5-point favorite over Detroit. This is a weird line. This is telling you that Detroit could definitely win this game. Detroit might be the play in this game. New England is a 2-point favorite at Houston. I'm telling you right now, Houston's going to be the play in this game. They're begging you to bet Houston. How is New England a 2-point favorite on the road, regardless of how Houston's been? See, the problem with these lines when you're gambling is that most gamblers get caught up looking at the teams instead of the line. Let the line tell you what's being said here. See, fact is, New England just played on national TV, won a game, and Houston struggled to get to score the entire week, and they've been really bad the whole year. This line either has to be Houston by 2 at home, or 3, or Patriots by 5 or 6. The fact that New England's a 2-point favorite, it's telling me that they're begging me to bet New England. Pittsburgh's a 10-point favorite on the road against Jacksonville. We'll see. You know, Jacksonville played tough this week against Green Bay. That's going to be a game that I know gets a lot of people sometimes with the teasers. That's one of those games that'll probably knock out people from their suicide pools if they're still alive. The Colts are a 2.5-point favorite over Green Bay. That's an interesting line. I thought that game would be closer to a pick'em or a Green Bay 1-point favorite. 2.5 points, Green Bay, Indianapolis favorite. Washington is a 1.5-point favorite at home against Cincinnati. A lot like that Carolina-Detroit. You know, those teams should be equal enough where 3 points should be a given. Baltimore is a 6.5-point favorite against Tennessee. You're going to have to bet Baltimore in this game. That line, again, in a team, Tennessee beat the hell out of the Ravens last year in the playoffs, knocked them out. And Tennessee's got a better record. And Baltimore just got beat up on national TV physically. And they're a 6.5-point favorite. If I bet that game, Baltimore's the play. Minnesota's a 7.5-point favorite over Dallas. I mean, look, Minnesota's going to win this game. Dallas is coming off a bye, but Minnesota's going to win this game. Kansas City's a 7-point favorite on the road at Vegas. Another weird line. So Vegas is not only good, but Vegas beat Kansas City in Kansas City. But you're telling me that Kansas City is a 7-point favorite on the road? It's a weird line. That's a tricky line. They know something I don't know. Miami's a 3.5-point favorite at Denver. Okay. This is what I was looking at. Some casinos have this line at 3. If that line closes at 3, Denver's going to win that game. If it goes from 3.5 to 4, Miami should be okay. The Chargers are an 8.5-point favorite at home against the Jets. Chargers will roll. I just don't know how the Jets will stop them from scoring 30, and I don't see how the Jets are going to score 20. Tampa Bay, in a game that's going to be really good next Monday night, is a 3.5-point favorite against the Rams, a Rams team that's going to probably end up giving them a lot of issues offensively. Will give Tampa Bay offense, I should say, a lot of problems. Here's the key to that game. Can the Rams score early enough so they can just field goal themselves to the finish? Because if you don't get 17 points from the Rams in the first half, they're going to lose. If they get you those 17 points, they can stop. They're good enough to stop Tampa Bay from really getting off offensively. You've been listening to the Sergio Rodriguez Show, a show unlike any other.